Forget the insurance assessor.
Broke 2 strings as I was trying to tune it.
$1 million still on
I'm going to start with this one. As I said earlier, my wife said, stick to your set list. So it's gone completely out of the window because I intended to do this one earlier in the first set. And I want to get this on before the night's through. Some of you will have heard it before. Some of you might not know it. I asked the author of this song if I could record it. He very kindly gave me permission, so I'm hoping to go back in the studio in the spring, and this will hopefully be on it. Again the rains are late this year, again the fields are dry and crops are dead. Today the bank refused to give me an extension on the loan. No money in my pocket for the fare, no friendly face with me, my disappointment to share. In failure and in poverty, you always feel alone. It's not the same sun that makes my face look red. You rich will never understand it. If I walk as if my shoes are made of lead, it's the shame of coming back home empty-handed. Arms and back are strong, and I have worked all hours that the good Lord gave. For my efforts, I have had so very little in return. This soil is too unyielding to the plow, too hard to soften with the sweat that trickles from my brow. Crops are weak, but there is almost nothing left to burn. It's not the same sun that makes my face look red. You rich will never understand it. If I walk as if my shoes are made of lead, it's the shame of coming back home empty-handed. Savings went to buy this land, and all it's good for is to bury me. Unless I find a way to make it pay, that could be very soon. The future that I dreamed as a young man is withered like the crops beneath this unrelenting sun. The very one that makes this such a lovely afternoon. It's not the setting sun that makes my face look red. You rich will never understand it. And if I walk as if my shoes are made of lead, it's the shame of coming back home empty-handed. What would happen if I just kept right on walking till I disappeared? Would they miss me if I had a mind the countryside to roam? They followed me with hopes of paradise, I can't do right now is look them in the eyes. I wish this road would swallow me and never take me home. It's not the setting sun that makes my face look red. You rich will never understand it. If I walk as if my shoes are made of lead, it's the shame of coming back home empty-handed. It's not the setting sun that makes my face look red. You rich will never understand it. If I walk as if my shoes are made of lead, it's the shame of coming back home empty-handed. Thank you, George. That was sitting next to George Papageros.
Really good.
You might think that writing songs is easy. I wanted a safe place back home where songwriters could get together. I was told when I was working with Paul Mills, who produced these two albums out here, he was Stan Lodger's producer and best friend, and he also produced those for me. And he said to me, you know, Dan, in Nashville, in for a word, in for 15%. So if somebody gives you one word and you use that word in the song, they get 15% of all the royalties associated with that song. As I said, I wanted a safe place where songwriters could go and try out new songs before they got in front of an audience. A place where if they had half-finished songs that maybe people could comment on and just throw ideas out to them, you know, if they were stuck. Sometimes we would come with a phrase even and try and write the following time we met on this phrase that we had agreed upon. This particular week we were having a tough week because we couldn't even come up with a phrase or anything. So I walked over to the bookshelf and I pulled out the Oxford Dictionary, handed it to one of the young women, and I said, Jill, close your eyes, open the dictionary up, and plunk your finger down in the middle of the dictionary, and that is what we will write about when we return in 2 weeks' time. Which she did. She closed her eyes, opened up the dictionary, plunked the finger down, and it came upon the word just. Can you close it, do it again? She said, no, that's the one we're sticking with. All right. Well, a week and a half passes, and I have been staring at my blank pad of paper for a week and a half. Nothing was coming through. I said to my wife, actually, she said to me, Dan, go out for a walk. For God's sake, get out of here. So I did, and I went for a walk, and about a half hour into the walk, I bumped into somebody, an old friend who I hadn't seen for quite a number of years. Dan, how's it going? Oh, fine, you know, I'm still doing the music thing, still playing and touring when I can, and, you know, trying to write. And how about you? What's going on? Oh, it's just another day. And over the years, I really believe that there's no such thing as just another day. I think every day that we have on this planet is as John sang earlier, you know, every day, every moment we have is special, and we can't afford to let it fritter away. So with that thought going through my mind and the word, I came up with this. Just another song. A song of hopes and dreams unspoken, a tale of love and hearts unbroken, a song of courage and new evoken when the need is nigh. Just another song, a melody to fill the silence, a growing beacon in the darkness, a fire we can carry with us through the darkest night. Just another day can witness hope spring from despair. Just a solemn word can make us cry. Just a song can fill the heart with gladness as we sing. When we lift our voices to the sky. Just another word, stated for another measure, spoken in both joy and pleasure, whispered as a secret treasure for a friend to share. Just another word, uttered in the throes of passion, shouted in the heat of fury, regretted as the day grows longer. Just another word. Just another day can witness hope spring from despair. Just a solemn word can make us cry. Just a song can fill the heart with gladness as we sing. When we lift our voices to the sky. Just another day. Somewhere the sun is shining, somewhere the rain is falling, somewhere the night is calling for another day, just another day. Somewhere there are children laughing, somewhere a voice is singing, somewhere another soldier died, just another day. Someone in joy is crying, hearts are sighing, night is passing, somewhere a newborn sleeping, just another day. As I said, I love stories, and some of my favorite stories when I was growing up, aside from my parents, my grandmother, were written, well, they were wonderful stories like The Fox and the Grapes, and The Wind and the Sun, The Tortoise and the Hare. And I knew, even at an early age, when I read these when I was about 6 or 7 or 8 years old, that if I ever have children, I was going to read these stories to them. As you know, most of you probably do, there was these wonderful morals attached to them. Mm-hmm. Too bad we couldn't ship some south of the border. Politics, I'm sorry. I promised my wife I wouldn't talk politics. Which border? Oh, that's right, I'm not in Canada anymore, right?
Are you talking about soft?
Well, something must have stuck because my son, who I did read these to, he's now finishing up his master's in philosophy. And yeah, something must have stuck. As I said, they were written over 2,000 years ago by a Greek slave, and they're commonly known today as Aesop's fables. Grandfather fished by an old mill stream, Harrow, flint, mustache, and a can of worms. He'd share his lunch from a fishing creel in the shade of an old oak tree. We'd cast our lines and we'd sit and wait, fish and talk till the day turned late. He'd tell me his stories, I tell him my dreams in the shade of an old oak tree. Grandfather taught me everyone can learn. He gave credence to the saying, one good turn. He always found joy in the rain and the sun, and pride in a job well done. I listened as he talked about the wind and the sun, how gentleness prevails where strength proves strong, how things are easier said than done in the shade of an old oak tree. He told me Aesop's fables. Time I came last to that old mill stream. Summers were a time for friends and dreams. The last time we fished, he seemed old and frail. Still he smiled as we talked a while. He said the path of life is a river, my son. It's twists and turns, not a straight, easy run. Fools know all the answers in the middle of themselves. And he spoke of the wind and the sun. Grandfather taught me everyone can learn. He gave names to the same one good turn. He always found joy in the rain and the sun, and pride in a job well done. I listened as he talked about the wind and the sun, how gentleness prevails, the strength proves wrong, how things are easier said than done in the shade of an old oak tree. He told me Aesop's fable. Strings while I'm trying to play. Years have passed since my grandfather's time. It took a lot of living, but now I find so many lessons he left behind. I learned by that old oak tree. So I take my son fishing by an old mill stream, share my lunch from a fishing crew, tell him my stories, he tells me his dreams in the shade of that old oak tree. I tell my son everyone can learn, give dreams to the same one good turn, and always finding joy in the rain and the sun, pride in the job well done. He listens as I talk about the wind and the sun, how gentleness prevails where strength proves strong, how things are easier said than done in the shade of an old oak tree. I tell him Aesop's fable. This is the 22nd year I've been coming over and doing some touring folk clubs and festivals. And the very first year I came over was sort of testing the waters. I didn't know what to expect. I had somebody who met me at a restaurant in Halifax, where I'm from. I was the musical wallpaper thing, while people were gnashing away at their lobsters and seafood and making lots of noise. And he came up to me and said, "You're the first real folk singer I've seen since I've been here." And he'd been over for a few weeks. I help run a small festival. If you're ever over in England, you've got to come to the festival. Okay, yeah, sure. And usually you just sort of nod and very politely, and yeah, right, this will never go anywhere. Well, he called me up that January and said, "So you coming over?" I guess so. And I ended up coming over and performing at the Redditch Festival and doing a few dates in Birmingham and then through the Midlands. After I finished at the Redditch Festival, my time was over and I was ready to head back home. Since I finished my last set, I went and had a traditional English lunch in the church hall, curry and chips. It was there, a fellow and his partner came by and said to me, "Dan, what are your plans now?" "Well, actually, I'm heading back on Tuesday, so I'm all finished." "Oh, really? Well, where are you heading home from?" "I'm heading home from Heathrow." "Oh, really? Well, how are you getting into London?" "Well, I'm going to take a train or a coach, into London." "Well, listen, we're going back. We're finished now. Why don't we grab you and your gear and we'll take you back? You can go to our club, the Herga Folk Club, on a Monday night, and then we'll take you to the airport on Tuesday." I said, No, that's all right. No, listen, we're going back. We're finished. You're finished. Get your gear. We'll throw it in the back of the car, and we'll drive into Pinner." No, that's all right. And then Johnny Collins said to me, "You haven't heard me." Well, as years go by, I
in the final years, Johnny was always performing somewhere else, and I was always over here. Sometimes he was off in Canada or over in Poland or Holland, and we never had a chance to get together. And the very final year, he actually did come out. It was, I think, a sing-around at the Herga Club, and he said to me, "Dan, how are you getting to the airport tomorrow?" And I said, "I have to be up at 5 o'clock." And he said, "Joyce and I will be there." I said, "No." He said, "You didn't hear me." So they picked me up and drove me to the airport. And Dan, it's been too long. Next time you're over, we're going to make sure that you spend some time with us. And we'll get a chance to catch up on the years we've missed over the last while. And it was that summer where Johnny was performing over in Gdansk at a sea music festival where he had a massive heart attack and died. And we never had that opportunity to get back together again and have that final talk. And the first club I was performing at that next year on tour was the Herga Folk Club. And I had to have something very special to come in with, and I wrote this as a result. So few the hours in friendship met, it feels we've just begun. All we hoped and wished to say sit silent on the tongue. For time, it seems, has caught us up, as only time it can. Let us smile and raise a glass and toast to absent friends. Let us smile and raise a glass and toast to absent friends. Just as night will follow day, so day must follow night. The heavy heart feels less beset when warmed by morning's light. And if our hearts be troubled, may we aim to make amends. Let us smile and raise a glass and toast to absent friends. Let us smile and raise a glass and toast to absent friends. There is a magic fills the air when first we start to sing. Voices joining tone on tone to make those rafters ring. As evening fades to silence, when towards our homes we wend, let us smile and raise a glass and toast to absent friends. Let us smile and raise a glass and toast to absent friends. So let us smile and raise a glass to all those sitting near. Friendship lies the strength we need to banish pain and fear. Should fate design to be unkind, that we not meet again, let us smile and raise a glass and toast to absent friends. Let us smile and raise a glass and toast to absent friends. Years ago, when I was getting to record my fifth album, I met up I've been listening to Archie Fisher tape that for several years. So I wanted to record a couple of the songs that I heard on this tape, and I contacted Archie Fisher and asked him if I could indeed record these songs. He said, "Sure, Dan, I'd love it if you record them, if you could only wait till I record them first." A good friend of Archie Fisher's, John O'Hagan, had been he takes Archie around on occasion, and he had, of course, placed the tape deck on the table and recorded Archie and given the tape to some friends who gave the copy to me. Anyway, I waited and I got word back from Archie, and he said, "Dan, I've been in the studio. It's all clear. You can go ahead and record the songs." Thank you very much. I recorded them in January, released the album that June. It took Archie 4 years before he released the album that he had recorded them on. But this one he wrote after reading the Pulitzer Prize-winning book, The Shipping News. And in the book, there's an old traditional Newfoundland proverb that says there are 4 women in every man's heart, meaning that one woman can be all those 4 women through the varying stages of love. There's the maid in the meadow, the demon lover, the stout-hearted woman, and the tall, quiet one. I noticed the men laughed there. And Archie apparently wrote to Annie Proulx and asked her if it was indeed a traditional Newfoundland proverb. She said, "No, I made it up. It's traditional now." Yeah. It has a chorus that repeats itself throughout. Of course, then it wouldn't be a chorus, would it? But it does change up at the very end. The chorus goes like this. "I'll tell you an old tale I learned in a rhyme. There are 4 women in every man's heart. Through the ages of love they pass one at a time, to hold you together or tear you apart. When you carelessly gather the wildflowers of youth, the maid in the meadow will run by your side. She will tell you of tenderness, courage, and truth. Her innocence blooms when the flowers have died. But it's only an old tale I learned in a rhyme. There are 4 women in every man's heart. Through the ages of love they pass one at a time, to hold you together or tear you apart. When the cold cloak of loneliness blankets your soul, the demon lover will burn at your breast. Her passion's the furnace, your body's the coal, and love is the steel to be tempered and pressed. But it's only an old tale I learned in a rhyme. There are 4 women in every man's heart. Through the ages of love they pass one at a time, to hold you together or tear you apart. When you're lost, you're tossed on the ocean of life, a stout-hearted woman will give you her hand. She is more than a lover, she's more than a wife, a beckoning beacon to guide you to land. Well, I'll tell you an old tale I learned in a rhyme. There are 4 women in every man's heart. Through the ages of love they pass one at a time, to hold you together or tear you apart. When you break through the embers of love you'll find the tall, quiet woman who shines through your eyes. Into the shadows that burden your mind, her peace and contentment are the wanderer's prize. But it's only an old tale I learned in a rhyme. There are 4 women in every man's heart.
But where will the place be, and when is the time to bring you together or keep you apart?
How are we doing there, Tim?
Well, it's about another 15 minutes or so.
15 minutes?
Greetings to you, Mr. Bogle.
What's that?
Greetings to you, Mr. Bogle. It's just absolutely fine.
Oh. Say hello back.
Yeah, we try and phone him for the interval margin.
I hope this isn't starting. That's all I need. Two of them to be out of tune. And Stan Rogers wrote many songs. I met Stan Rogers once. I hope it was as memorable for him as it was for me. I had gone to see Stan several times in Halifax when he was performing there. And I thought he was very much like myself, middle-aged, balding, medium height. Just played a slightly smaller guitar than most people. Bless.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. So when Stan performed, there was his brother Garnet, and Jim Morrison was the last bass player to play with him, and they all looked to me to be the same height. And I sat in the very front row watching Stan and sang to every chorus I knew, and even the ones I didn't much, like yourselves who are very quick at choruses. I tried everything I could. After it was over, I was determined to meet him. I had come armed with many questions about where he got inspiration, about different songs he had written, and what was life like touring so much, and things like that. They were important questions to me at the time. So after it was over, I went over to the stage door, knocked on the stage door. Stage manager came to the door. She said, "Yes, can I help you?" "Could I speak to Stan, please?" "Sure. Come on in. He loves to have people." "Great." So I start walking in, and I immediately walk into Stan's brother Garnet, and immediately the world shifted ever so slightly. "Could you tell me where Stan is, please?" "Yeah, he's just around back. Keep going that way." "Okay, great. Thank you very much." And I toddle off. I get about halfway backstage, and I run into Jim Morrison, the bass player. Jim Morrison stands 6'7". "Could you tell me where Stan is, please?" "Yep, just keep going that way. First dressing room on the right." "Great, thank you very much." I get to the dressing room door, and I knocked on the dressing room door, and Al, who was Stan and Garnet's father, came to the door. He came to see the boys perform that night. "Yes, can I help you?" "Can I speak to Stan, please?" "Sure, just a second. Stanley?" And you hear a glass go down on the table, and Stan strides to the doorway, and the doorway just disappeared. And all those wonderful questions I had to ask him about where he got the inspiration for this song and that song and what touring was like just flew completely from my mind. And the only words I could say were, "I've got all your albums." That was my one and only meeting with Stan Rogers. He wrote this about the young folks leaving the east coast of Canada, and in Newfoundland they have some wonderful names for places which are in the chorus. I can't think of those names, but there's places like Come By Chance, and there actually is a place in Newfoundland named Dildo. I'm serious, I kid you not. Look on the maps. You'll find it on Google Maps. Anyway, young fellas heading out west to find work in the oil fields, and it hasn't changed in the 35, 40 years since Stan wrote this song. It's still happening. We're losing our best and our brightest, and they're heading out to the oil fields of Alberta to find work because there's not much work back home. He called this Free in the Harbor, and it's about the whales who are basically waving goodbye to all the young people.
Well, it's blackfish at play in Hermitage Bay, from push through across the Wasp Island. They broach and they spout. Then they lift their flutes out and they wave to a town that is dying. Now it's many's the boat that has relied on the foam. Haul it away, haul it away. Now it's many more fellas than leaving their homes, where the whales make free in the harbor. Well, it's Port of May. You'll see them again on their way to the hills of Alberta. With lopsided grins, they waggle their chins, and they brag at a wage they'll be earning. And it's quick pull the string, boys, get the two louds. Haul it away, haul it away. Just 2 years ago you could hear the same shout, where the whales make free in the harbor. Free in the harbor. The blackfish are sporting again. Free in the harbor, untroubled by comings and goings of men, who once did pursue them as oil from the sea. Hauling away, hauling away. Now the Calgary roughnecks from Hermitage Bay, where the whales break free in the harbor. Well, it's a living they found deep in the ground, and if there's doubts, it's best they ignore them. For think on the bones of the crosses and stones of their fathers who came here before them. In the taverns of Edmonton, the jurymen shout, haul it away, haul it away. They left 300 years buried up by the bay, where the whales make free in the harbor. Free in the harbor. The blackfish are sporting again. Free in the harbor, untroubled by comings and goings of men, who once did pursue them as oil from the sea. Hauling away, hauling away. Now the Calgary roughnecks from Hermitage Bay, where the whales make free in the harbor. Free in the harbor again.
I haven't played this since I've been here. It was a song that was collected by Helen Creighton, who was a collector on the east coast of Canada from approximately 1932 to 1974. She went around to all the small places throughout Nova Scotia and even into the cities where some of the old source singers still lived. And she collected over 6,000 songs, lots of folklore as well. One of my favorite books growing up was a book called Blue Nose Ghosts. And Maritimers, or Nova Scotians, are called Blue Nosers. I could go into the story about that, but it might take too long. Helen collected this song from several sources and sort of put the verses together, and it became one complete song. And in 1960, 65, 66, 67, we had two television shows nationally broadcast from Halifax, Nova Scotia. One was a fiddler from New Brunswick by the name of Don Messer, and a fine fiddler. He could play ragtime and sort of jazz a bit, and a lot of the old traditional reels and jigs. He was just a very fine fiddler. After that show was a show for the younger kids. called Sing Along Jubilee, and it was a half-hour televised folk music show right across Canada. Well, one of the young women sang the Nova Scotia song on this show, and it became a huge hit right across Canada. Now, when the old source singers used to sing these songs to Helen, they would sing it all the way through, and when they came to the very last two lines, they would slow the song down and recite the very last line to let people know that the song was actually over. However, this young woman who sang the Nova Scotia song on the television didn't sing it the way the old source singers sang it. She sang it and repeated the very last line. Well, because it became such a huge hit, CBC television learned that one of the source singers was still alive, fishing from his dock 35 miles up the eastern shore from Halifax in a place called Pepeswick. And they went to see Walter Roast, and they got him to sing the Nova Scotia song. And they brought their lights and cameras and cords and all these things, and Helen Creighton along with them. And they went and they filmed Walter Roast singing the Nova Scotia song. And Walter sang it all the way through and repeated the very last line. After it was over, Helen walked up to Walter. She said, "Walter, you did a fine job." He said, "Thank you." She said, "But tell me, why didn't you sing the song the way you normally sing it?" "Well, you know, I was watching TV the other night, and this young girl sang it like that on TV, and I figured, well, if that's the way it's sung on TV, that's the way it's meant to be sung." It has a lot to answer for it, Helen. The sun was setting in the west. Birds were singing on every tree. All nature seemed inclined for rest, but still there was no rest for me. Farewell to Nova Scotia, your sea-bound coast. Let your mountains dark and dreary be. For when I'm far away on that briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh or a wish for me? I grieve to leave my native land. I grieve to leave my comrades all, and my parents whom I love so dear, and the bonny, bonny lassie that I do adore. Farewell to Nova Scotia, your sea-bound coast. Let your mountains dark and dreary. For when I'm far away on that briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh or a wish for me? Well, the drums they do beat, and the wars do alarm. The captain calls, I must obey. So farewell, farewell to your Nova Scotia charms, for it's early in the morning, and I'm far, far away. Farewell to Nova Scotia, your sea-bound coast. Let your mountains dark and dreary. For when I'm far away on that briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh or a wish for me? I have 3 brothers, they are at rest. Their arms are folded upon their breasts. What a poor simple sailor, just like me, must be tossed and driven on the dark blue sea. So farewell to Nova Scotia, sea-bound coast, let your mountains dark and dreary be. Oh, when I'm far away on that briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh or a wish for me? Thank you all for coming out this evening. I've had a wonderful time. Safe home, everybody.
Thank you. Farewell Nova Scotia. It's worth coming for that, wasn't it? Thank you everyone for coming, even those who've never been here before. Perhaps you're encouraged to come here with most Mondays. Chris especially brought 4 faces we've never seen before. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Very nice. And Dan, it's been a privilege. So you can send us out home. We'll be very grateful. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Since the guitar's in this tuning, I'm not going to bother you. Send you off on a high note. All right, happy.
There we go.
I'll try and not go fast, but I can't help myself with this song. I don't know what it is. It's a song that Stan Rogers always used to finish his shows with. And there are 2 choruses to this song. The first chorus goes, rise again, let her name not be lost to the knowledge of men. For those who loved her best and were with her till the end will make the merry Ellen Carter rise again. Here we go. Slow down, slow. Not going to happen.
Stop the red star, catch and whirl down. Put tables to her for without that dicker around. So far our news will hit the air and then take up the string and make the Mary Ellen Carter rise again. Rise again, rise again. Let her name not be lost to the dawn. Follow the Lord and we're with her till the end. We'll make the Mary Ellen Carter rise again. We couldn't leave her there, you see, to crumble in the scale. She saved our lives so many times, living through the gale. The laughing drunken rats who left her to a sorry grave, they won't be laughing another day. And you doom adversity is dealt the final blow, with smiling blasters flying to you everywhere you go. Turn to put out all your strength of arm and heart and mind, and like the Mary Ellen Carter rise again, rise again, rise again. We're hard and we broken on my vows to end. No matter what you've lost, be it a home, a love, a friend, like the Mary Ellen Carter rise again, rise again, rise again. We're hard and we broken on my vows to end. No matter what you've lost, be it a home, a love, a friend, like the Mary Ellen Carter rise again.
Sadly, that's your lot, but remember you can take a piece of Dan back home with you. CDs here, so don't hurry out the door. Visit Dan first. CDs on sale. Thank you.